Hello, John.
Hello, Alma.
Yeah, so while I was driving through Limerick, I sometimes take the Foynes Road, which is by the sea, by the ocean. It's absolutely beautiful. And for the first time, something happened when I was driving past to my left. There was a forest, a small forest to the left, and a building caught my eye. Okay, and I thought, "Ooh, I've never seen that before." So I pulled over the car about 500 yards, turned around, drove back to it. Okay, and I seen this lovely old, the remnants or the ruins of an old church. And as I was walking around, I came across a grave and it said Mary Spring Rice. And I thought to myself, that's a very unusual name, you know? And she died 100
Yeah.
years ago. Okay, so I Googled her and I found out she was an Irish nationalist, and she lived by the River Shannon. She spoke fluent Irish. She was a close friend of Douglas Hyde. She was also a gun runner from 1913 to 1914. Okay. Together with her wealthy friend Molly Childers, they sailed on the Asgards to collect guns which were used in the Easter Rising. At the age of 43, she got TB, the consumption, and she died at the age of 44, 100 years ago, and she's buried in Foynes. So what do you make of that?
That's a sad thing. 44. I thought she was younger than that. But be that as it may, she was christened Mary, and which is a good Catholic name, generally speaking. So her folks were open to the influence of the Catholic faith, to my way of thinking, and apparently they were Anglo-Irish aristocrats. She come from a well-to-do family with titles, and she could have been lady something or another for all I know. But suffice to say, she was a nationalist, and she was a Gaelic speaker because in the family there must have been very good people in many ways. They were taught to speak Irish and Gaelic, and because before during that period, Irish was nearly the British were still running the country here, and Irish was not taught and was denigrated, the Gaelic language, which was the language of the people and a very musical, uplifting language. It wasn't some kind of like a dialect or something. It had a great history of achievement, the Irish, and of course then Latin was the universal language of the Catholic Church. And I wouldn't be surprised if in her family they come across this idea. And you mentioned Douglas Hyde; he was the first president of this country when we got our independence, and he was Church of Ireland. So it was a demonstration of the sort of support for all in this country, irrespective of their background and what have you, providing they paid some bit of respect and allegiance to the country, and which that family did.
They did, yeah. And the thing about Mary Spring Rice was as well that she was heavily involved in her community. Um, she used to have festivals. She used to run festivals by the River Shannon, all around the area. She was very, very, very active, But I think she was when you consider like this was an aristocratic lady, probably from a wealthy family, and she could have chosen any kind of life, really. She could have chosen a
Oh,
nice, pampered existence, but she decided, Irish freedom was better, and it was a good way to spend her life, and she was brave. And apparently, when she got on the boat, Molly Childers had a yacht. Molly Childers came from, I think it was Boston, and Molly Childers
and
was was
wealthy
was a
family too,
wealthy
yeah.
family. They had yachts, So they decided the best way to get the guns was to use Molly Childers' yacht. And those guns were used in the
The Asgard,
1916, the
yeah.
Asgard, yeah. So they were used in the 1916 Rising, but it's funny, like, I've never came across her in school and in history or anything. It's the first time,
Yeah, I don't know
and
why she was scrubbed out of it, because she was a real patriot, and so was this Molly Childers that was born in Boston. Now, Boston was what they call there was that man that was related to the Kennedys. I forget what to call him, but he had a good name in Boston, and he was the mayor or something like that, and he was. a very popular individual. So they would have been known about that kind of thing in the Irish, even though they come from a Protestant background. And Childers was visiting there, and at a function or a party or whatever it was, he fell in love and proposed, and it was accepted, and there was a wedding in Boston because that Molly Childers come from a very well-to-do family in Boston, and so it got publicity, and has been the wedding of the year or something. So. Childers as well was a Protestant, but he was a patriot, and then wasn't he the first president of Ireland?
I'm not
President
sure.
Erskine, yeah, well, President Children. Now, whether President Childers was a descendant of them or not, I don't know. But I was at his funeral when he died. He was in Dublin, and there was a big crowd at that funeral, I can tell you. And the Asgard Lantern and Host, where I grew up, and it was at my young age, it was spoken about as if like it was only recent, and so that was a great support for the cause of Irish freedom, because we're entitled to be free because our history was not respected, our Catholic faith was not respected, and a whole heap of things like that. So anybody with a kind of a kind disposition would be drawn to support that, and she certainly did in a practical way by bringing some weapons so as they could defend themselves. We notice in other countries where Catholics are persecuted, Nigeria, for example, Catholics like are sitting ducks over 60,000 murdered in the past 10 years by the extremists.
Hmm.
The extremists in that country, Boko Haram. So, what I'm saying is that we would have suffered from that here too. So, people that had a sympathy for our plight supported us from the Anglo-Irish family, and they come from Barons. And she used to invite apparently liberal peers or somebody there to and look for them to recognise Irish independence. So she was working on two fronts.
She was. I think she was amazing, and I'm just amazed that like they don't have a, or maybe they do. I don't know. Maybe they have tours there, but she's buried anyway. As right beside the ocean. When you're standing in the graveyard, you're looking at the massive ocean in front of you. She's buried in the most beautiful place. It's a fairly busy road, but the drive around there by Foynes is absolutely beautiful, and
It is.
it's
And by the
fascinating
way,
to think
she
she's
should
buried there.
be one of the patriots that they should be recognised. And certainly you brought it to the attention of the Christian TV Ireland project, and we will certainly support her cause as being one of the patriots of this country honour, and our patriots that was executed for their part in trying to gain Irish freedom. But they put the foundation, and it succeeded eventually, even though the British did everything to try and squash it, and persecution and all the rest of it, with all sorts of goings on. But it persisted, and Michael Collins and the various leaders were able to deal with all these issues and thwart them. Thanks be to God, because that's how we got our freedom, and that's how we're respected all over the world. Because we never conquered any country; we only tried to convert them to the Catholic faith, but we didn't conquer anything. So that's
I
why we have a great record abroad, I think.
think that's very good. We're peaceful beings. So there's Molly Rice, Mary Spring Rice. So 100 years ago she died, and it's quite timely, that we come across her at her 100-year
You've done
anniversary.
good work there. You've done good work there, Oliver, because you've brought it now to the attention of the Christian TV Ireland project program, and we're certainly support her to be honoured more than she has been. And like, isn't it funny how you come across that, and it kind of struck you as unusual? And I
Yeah,
think
it's just
there's
I
on
was
that gravestone there's Irish, there's an Irish thing on it as well in Irish, and I think there's something about it that drew your attention. And fortunately that you visited that place, that you took the time to just not be rushing back here, there, yonder. That's the way to travel. I've often done that myself and stepped aside to visit graveyards, and that's come across Smith O'Brien in Ardagh, County Limerick, and not too far from Shannon. There's a lovely name for a village, and I was in it, and I had customers in it, and in Ardagh as well. So, as when you step out and visit graveyards, you don't know what you're going to come across, and you come across a jewel in that Mary
Mary Spring Rice.
Spring Rice. Yeah, but she come from, as I say, her parents were Bardens or something, weren't they?
That's right. There were wealthy aristocrats.
Aristocrats with a lot of land and that, but they respected the Irish and taught them all how to speak the native language, which was great. Not many families was able to do that because they weren't taught it, you see.
Mm-hmm. So there you go. It's a nice, lovely story, and Mary was a very brave lady. She made use of her
It
short
was, and
years in
Molly
this
Childers.
world. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Thank you very much, John.
Yeah. You're most welcome. Thanks,
Thank
Oliver.
you. Bye bye.